Hello guys and welcome back to Life with Paulie. It's currently October 27th, almost 1 p.m. and as you can see here, Annabelle is relaxing on the ledge outside. This is my daughter's patio that I'm sitting on right now and enjoying the weather here in New York. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, I moved out of my apartment into my 2007 Saturn Ion until I saved enough money to buy a minivan to turn into my tiny home. So we are just sitting out here today. It is going to hit almost 80 here in New York. And this is going to be maybe the last warm day. I'm not totally sure. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 75, so I guess that's not too bad. But today is going to be almost 80, which I don't really like hot weather. It has been cold here in New York. It's supposed to go back down the day after tomorrow. It's supposed to go down to the 50s and the 30s at night. So winter is definitely coming to New York. As you can see, it's fall and the leaves are definitely falling all over. My daughter's got so much land here. She rents this house right here. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. But today I wanted to talk about my mom and her 450-pound man. Now, I want to say first off that I'm not making fun of bigger people or people that are overweight, because I myself was an overweight person. I'm still a little bit overweight, but I have lost some weight since I moved out of my apartment into my car at my daughter's house. I have lost some weight, but I was about 50 pounds probably overweight. So by no means is this video to down people that are overweight or bigger people. Some people like it that way. And we're all human. It doesn't matter if we're tall, short, skinny, big, white, black. It doesn't matter. We're all people and we all deserve to be treated with respect. And the reason why I titled the video that is because my mom was dating a biker. His name was Tank Townsend, and he used to ride a motorbike, of course, and he weighed 450 pounds. He is one of my brother's dads. He's not my dad, but he's one of my brother's dads. Sort of kind of my middle brother. I have 3 other brothers. I have an older brother, then one that's a little bit younger than him, and that's the one that I'm talking about. And then I have a younger brother. And so yeah, he's my brother's dad. He's not my dad, but we did live with him for a couple of years, and he was a very abusive person. He abused me and my mother physically and mentally. Because he would yell and scream at us, but he would also beat my mother, and he would also beat me. When I was younger, I was beat by 2x4s with him. He beat me with 2x4s. He beat me with spoons and spatulas. And he also beat my mom too. He used to hit her a lot. We could not even eat snacks that we wanted. We had to hide to eat the snacks. I remember one time us having to hide it in the bathroom to eat cookies. We had to eat cookies in the bathroom. And that day that we were doing that, he ended up catching us in the bathroom. He opened the door. I couldn't remember. I think we did lock the door, but it didn't shut all the way or something. So he opened the door and he caught us there eating cookies. So he took the broom handle, he took a broom, and he took the handle and hit me over the head with it very hard. And I started crying, and then he basically hit my mother and took the cookies away from us and wouldn't let us eat it. He wanted all the snacks to himself. My mom received SSI for me and her both, or just her. No, I think it was just her at the time. She hadn't gotten it yet for me, but she was working on that. And she basically, he would take all her money. So there was several times that my mom wanted to get away from him, but she couldn't because we had no money to get away from him. And I remember one time when I was just learning how to tie my shoes, and I didn't tie my shoe right. And because I didn't tie my shoe right, I was just learning. He kicked me across the floor. Now, this is a 450-pound man kicking a little kid across the floor. Very abusive. He used to play a game, and he used to try to scare me by having me put my hands on a table. He would grab my hands and put it on a table and actually take a butcher knife and pretend he was going to chop off my fingers. And yeah, it was just a very abusive relationship. And like I said, my mom tried to get away from him tons of times, and then finally she got sick of it. And basically she said that she was going to leave and try to go get something set up for us. She did have her own car. He had his own car and his own motorcycle. And she said she was going to leave and try to get stuff set up from us for us to leave him and to go on our own. And so she did that. She left the house and she was going to find out, what she could do to get us out of there and to get me out of there. The reason, of course, why she didn't take me with her at first is because she knew she didn't have nowhere to go, and she didn't know how exactly, she would take care of me if she didn't have some place set up already. So after a few days, I didn't hear from her. I don't know if she was keeping in contact with him. I don't think she was. But he came to me and he told me, well, your mother's dead. She's not coming back to get you. So you're stuck here forever. And at the time, he had me locked up, too. He had me locked up in the room and he wouldn't let me out. And, he told me my mom was dead, and I started crying. And he basically told me, she's not coming back and you deal with it. And that was a very traumatizing moment for me because I really thought my mother was dead and wasn't coming back. She did end up coming back after a while, and she ended up trying to get me, and he wouldn't let me out. And so she finally called the cops. Now, the cops were very, very familiar with this man. They did not like him at all. A lot of times, the cops would get called on him and they wouldn't come because they didn't like this guy. He was, like I said, he was a bigger person. He was 450 pounds. He was a biker. He was very mean, and they just didn't want to deal with him. They didn't like him. But my mom did call the cops, and the cops did end up showing up, and his son, not my brother, but another son that he had from a previous marriage, ended up opening the door when the cops got there with my mom. And the cops told him that I had to be released to my mother. And the cop told his son, you can't keep him locked up in here, because my mom knew he had me locked up in the house. So eventually his son said, well, the cops are here and they want us to release him. So eventually they released me, and me and my mom got away from him. And we started to sleep in our car, and we slept in our car, and we had to steal stuff to eat. We had to steal bread. How we stole the loaf of bread, I don't know. I can't remember. But we had to steal sandwich meat and things like that to eat, because my mom's check was gone because he had taken it for that month. So we had to steal stuff to survive. And we even got spray paint for our car, to spray paint our car a different color so he couldn't track us down and find us. Then eventually, after about a month, we ended up getting a hotel room. My mom ended up getting her money, and we ended up getting a hotel room, and we would hop from hotel room to hotel room so he couldn't find us. And one of the hotel rooms we went to was the Bonnie Doon in Albany, New York. We lived in Albany, New York at the time, and we were staying at the Bonnie Doon, and he came down and he busted the door down. I mean, he busted it down. He basically plowed right through the door. All the molding came off. The door fell right on the floor, and he ended up taking us back to his house. So he ended up kidnapping us again. And yeah, it was a very bad situation to be in. And after a while, we ended up getting away from him again. And then after that, he didn't bother with us no more, thank God. But it was a very hairy situation. I went through a lot when I was little. My mom went through a lot. I remember one time when he got into a fight with my mom, and there was a can of hot chocolate mix on the table. and it was on the right side of the table. And my mom ended up getting into a fight with him, and he ended up backhanding my mom, and she flew over the kitchen table and hit the other side of the kitchen table, and the kitchen table flipped up, and the hot chocolate went way up and hit the ceiling, and you could see hot chocolate all over the ceiling. Right after the table went up and the hot chocolate hit the ceiling, he lost his balance and fell backwards and fell on a recliner chair that he had there, and the recliner chair tipped over and it fell on top of me. I wasn't hurt or anything because the recliner chair fell on its side, and it has a kind of a soft side, so I wasn't hurt, surprisingly, knowing that he weighed 450 pounds. But yeah, and my mom ended up on the floor. And this is the type of situation that we were in, and it was a very bad situation. It wasn't a very good situation at all. And I know my brother lived with him. I'm not going to say too much about my brother. Me and my brother don't speak no more because of certain reasons. One of the reasons is because my mom died, and things have happened with the family. I don't speak to two of my brothers, and you might have a family where you don't speak to a certain family member neither because of certain reasons. My older brother, I don't speak to him because he was at my house when my mother was dying, actively dying, and he knew she only had a couple of days left, and he said he would stay there and support me. And, he promised my aunt that came down from PA, he promised her he would stay with me and not leave me alone. He says, this is my brother. He needs me right now. And then he ended up leaving me the next day. And I was very mad about that and very upset about that. And, I had to go through the death of my mother alone. I was with her all by myself. I didn't have nobody with me. I had to sit there and watch her take her last breath. I actually got up out of my chair and turned around and then turned back around for a quick second, and she was already gone. But I was taking care of her. I was her main caregiver when she was battling stage 4 lung cancer. She had stage 4 lung cancer for 6 years, and she did pretty well with it up until the 6th year, and that's when she started getting really sick. And then in February or December of 2021, she started taking a turn for the worse, and then really got bad in January, and I knew she was going to die, and she did. She died February 5th of 2022. And it was very traumatizing to go through that alone, so I don't speak to him no more. But the brother that his father beat me, and his father was a biker and very abusive, I know that my brother had to live with him for a long time when he was little, and I know he was very abusive to him. I'm not sure quite if he hit him and stuff like that, but I'm sure he did. I know he used to yell at him and say, yo, you effing retard, and used to call him all kinds of different names and scream at him all about different things, and didn't want him to have certain things, just like, me and my mom. He didn't want us to have treats or snacks. And I know he went through a lot too with his dad. And yeah. Anyways, years later, this was when I was way, way older, years later, we actually went to a nursing home to see him because he ended up in a nursing home, my brother's dad, the one that beat me and the one that was a biker. And when we went to the nursing home to see him, he was doing very bad, but he was coherent and he could talk, and he was a very nice person. He totally changed. And I couldn't understand how he was so nice when we went to see him. But he was skinny, and he ended up getting skinnier and skinnier, and he ended up dying shortly after we went to see him. But my thing is, to anybody out there that's going through an abuse situation, whether it be physical, mental, whatever, you know what kind of abuse there is out there. Anybody going through that situation, just know that you do not deserve to be abused, whether it be being yelled and screamed at. I have done that myself, especially because of my childhood. I have had a couple relationships where I yelled and screamed at the woman that I was in a relationship with, including the mother of my children. And she didn't deserve that. My other relationship that I was in, that I was yelling and screaming at her and her kids, they didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves to go through that, and nobody deserves that kind of situation. And if you're in that situation, you need to try to get out of it. Not only if you got kids, but even if it's just you need to get out of that type of situation. You shouldn't be put through that type of situation, and you shouldn't have to go through those things. And especially with children, it affects their entire life. It affected my entire life, what I went through. And not to say that I didn't become a better person, because I am now. I'm a very good person now, better than I was. And, you know, I raised 3 girls, not by myself, of course. Me and the mother raised my girls from very little. And then me and the mother split up, and she raised them on her own for a long time. But I still paid support, and I still, got to see them in visitation and stuff like that. And now my daughters are all grown. This is my daughter's house. She rents for $900 a month with her husband. She's married now. She just got married last year. And but she's doing very well for herself. She works a lot, and she pays for what she's got. She got pretty much a new car. And I'm very proud of her. And I'm very proud of the person that they become. My 3 girls, my 3 daughters. They're all growing on their own. One other daughter that I have lives about 10 minutes from here. And I do pop in on her once in a while. I don't do it a lot because, of course, she still lives with her mom. She is older, of course, and she is of age. She's over 21. But she still lives with her mom to help her mom, because her mom's in pretty bad shape and got a lot of health issues. But I do pop in and see her, and I'm glad I get to see her. And I'm glad I get to see this daughter here. She just went to work, and I was sitting outside with her a little bit before she went to work. Usually we sit outside in the morning sometimes and visit, and she has a dog just like I do, Annabelle. And we just spend time together and talk or whatever. But yeah, that's where I am on this video. I wanted to tell that story, and I wanted to tell everybody out there that if you're in that type of situation, you deserve to get out of that situation. And whatever you could do to get out of that situation and to make it better for you, and if you have children, to make it better for your children, I would suggest that you do that. You don't deserve to be screamed at. You don't deserve to be treated like crap. You don't deserve to be beat on or abused in any way. So keep that in mind. Now, usually my videos ain't like this. I do have other videos on my YouTube station of how I got my car set up and stuff, and what I'm doing when I get a van. I'm going to be building it out, but it's going to be quite some time before I buy a van yet. Because I had to put some money into my car. That's not my car right there. That's my daughter's husband's old car. But yeah, I had to put some money into my car to get it inspected, so I could save for a few more months to get a minivan, a used one. It's not going to be a new one, to turn into my tiny home. And I will be filming that and what stuff I put in my van. But I like to use this YouTube channel to tell my personal stories and to help other people out there maybe in their situation. But just know that there are people out there that do love and care about you. And even if you're in that situation, you can get out of that situation, and you can make it better for yourself and get into a better situation. There are people out there that will help you. There are people out there that will care and will help you and will love you. And accept you for who you are. You don't have to be somebody that you're not to please someone else. So keep that in mind. This is just a story time, and I will see you in my next video. I'm going to enjoy my coffee in this weather right now. Even though it's getting a little bit hot for me, I don't like hot weather. I'd rather have it cold. But what you going to do? See you in my next video.